Monday, everyone. We got some fun stuff coming your way today. It's a nice little descending ladder. It's going to be a good time. But before we get to that, let's talk about what we have coming up into our warm-up. Our warm-up is going to take some time to focus on some lower body love. So we have some dynamic triangle, 3 to 5 aside, sumo overhead good morning for 5, sumo squat hold for 15 seconds, sumo squat for 5, into a wall sit for 30 to 45 seconds, and some calf raises of 30 seconds of just dynamic movement, loaded or unloaded. So we're really taking the time to work on those feet, work on those knees, and get things ready for action today. You're gonna hit that 2 to 3 rounds. We're gonna move into the bottom piece, which is gonna be a single leg RDL, 3 to aside, loaded or unloaded, foot assist pistol, 3 aside, and a goblet squat to bring it all together for 5 reps at a 3-1-3. 2 to 3 rounds there. Again, this is going to get all those legs kind of fired up, everything ready for action, get things going. And then we're going to kind of tie it in with our little practice round, which is going to, you can adjust this if you'd like to get you ready for the work set. So we're going to tackle the dumbbell front squat for 3, into a dumbbell thruster for 2, and then you're going to work on some dumbbell lateral step over or jump overs for 20 seconds of just dynamic movement. And in that, if you do have places to skip, or whatever option you're going to use in place of skipping, you can put that into that piece right there and hit it for about 20 to 30 seconds and hit that for 2 rounds to get you fired up, heart rate ready, movement ready for what's to come. So what's to come is a workout, 10 to 2 thrusters, 50 to 10 double unders. So it is going to be 10 thrusters, 50 double unders, 8, 40, and down the line until you've finished 2 thrusters and 10 double unders. Woo! It's going to be a good day. That's all I have to say. Nice, speedy, descending ladder. It's going to be a fun time, and I'm excited for you guys to tackle it. I'm going to have some different options for you guys today with this work set, depending on how you want to take down the thrusters. If you have a single dumbbell, you can take it down 10 total reps. You could do 10 per side, depending on how much squat volume you'd like to put into yourself today. That is up to you. If you have 2 dumbbells, obviously just do as is, all right, 10 down to 2, but we'll see how it goes, we'll see where it takes us. But let's get you warmed up and ready to go. All right, let's kickstart our morning off, or our day off, I should say, with our feet under our hips. We'll take the arms up big and tall. We're just gonna stretch it over to one side. We're gonna come back through and take it to the other side. We'll come back up, scratch our back, and then reach through that elbow. Again, just giving yourself a good once over, big stretch, and just feeling and noticing any area of the body. Take it down to the T. That's a little tight. Turn them in, turn them out, turn them in, turn them out, and turn them in, and out. Big reach. One more time, big side bend, roll, glute squeeze. Come back in, other side. We'll come back up and forward fold. We'll touch those toes. We'll walk up our shins. We'll come down, frame of foot, step it back into your lizard. I'm going to set those legs. We'll take the inside hand up to the sky, rotate forearm to the floor. We'll come back up and rotate forearm to the floor, back up and rotate forearm to the floor, and back up. Plant the hand. Outside hand is going to reach way up to the sky. We'll come back down, step back into your down dog, reaching those hips, and let's just walk those heels out a little bit, one at a time, just feeling out the feet and the ankles. We'll come back to that plank, we'll step the foot up, other side, nice and square in the hips, inside hand will reach, we'll rotate, forearm to the floor, we'll come back up, we'll rotate, we'll come back up, and we'll rotate, outside hand's going to reach up, take it back to the floor, step back, nice down dog, reaching those hips, let's walk those heels out, one at a time, just kind of feel those legs out a little bit, good, couple more, we'll come back into our plank, tiptoe those feet all the way up, roll yourself up, big stretch, reach to one side, reach to the other side. We'll come back down with those hands. Woo! Let's get you fired up and ready to go. If you'd like to pause the video though and do some more gentle kind of warm up, maybe for the calves, upper body, who knows? Get yourself ready, do what you need to, pause the video, come along with me, and we'll focus on that lower half of the body for the work set. All right, guys, let's get our feet underneath of our hips. We are going to step it out a little bit wider, though, and go into our sumo position. So we have a slightly wider stance. We're going to start off our day with our dynamic triangle. We're going to turn a toe directly to the side. We're going to turn the other toe on the angle. We're going to squeeze our glutes. We're going to take one hand to the thigh, big press to the ceiling. We're going to pull those hips into that back heel, just taking it down nice and slow, and then bringing it back up. So again, we want to set the glute, and then keep that pressure up into the sky, and pull the hip into that heel. Good, and then come back up. Good. From here, we would transition sides. Of course, give yourself that little high five. But when we switch sides, make sure that those feet are in that nice wide position, in that sumo stance. Sometimes when we transition sides, our feet get a little narrow, and then we feel really jammed up when we work on that hinge. So we want to make sure we give ourselves space to allow ourselves room to move into that hinge. From there, we're going to move into another hinge, but it's a different style of hinge. We're going to stay in our sumo stance. All right, so we have a little bit more room in those hips. I'm going to set myself up with my good morning with an overhead reach. So first things first, I'm just going to go through the good morning again. I set my glutes and ribs. I take a nice big breath, brace into my upper body, and I pull the hips back into that hinge. I'll come back up. Now, with what we're doing today, if you like to do a couple of those just to heat up the hinge a little bit, you can. But we're going to work on an overhead hinge. So we're going to take our arms up into that good overhead position like they would be if we were doing a shoulder press or a push press of some sort. We're going to squeeze the glutes, set the ribs, and now we're going to maintain that overhead position as we hinge, which can be very challenging depending on how much freedom you have through the side body. You may find after doing the dynamic triangles, you have a little bit more range, but the big thing is listen to that upper body. So as we're going down into that hinge, we want to make sure our arms are staying where we want them and they're not traveling on their own. So listen to both halves of the body, work to your edge, and maintain both positions. From there, we're going to move into our Sumo Squat Hold. So we're staying in that wider stance today. We're going to stand tall, and we're going to go right into some sumo squats right after the hold. So we have 15-second hold, and then we're going to move right into 5 squats. So we're just going to demonstrate the nice bottom position and then the dynamic variation. So our glutes are engaged, our ribs are in, so everything kind of focuses from that hip crease. I pull the hips to my heels. So I'm just displacing the hips a bit, but not a lot. Pushing the knees out, I'm trying to stay as upright as I can, weight through the center position. And I'm going to hold this position nice and strong the entire time for the 15 seconds. And then once that's done, I'll push through those feet, and then I'll move right into that dynamic variation. So the same position at the bottom, except I'm not going to hang out down there. Now, as we're coming out of the bottom of the squat, we want to make sure that our weight stays mid-foot, and that we're not rocking forward. We're staying nice and solid, nice and strong the entire time. So there's no tempo per se on the sumo squat, but I would take them a little slower just because for 2 reasons. We're coming out of the bottom of the hold, and we want to make sure we're maintaining good position. And the second one, we're still warming up pretty early in the warm-up, so it's always nice to take that slightly wider stance squat a little slower to work on opening up the hips and the knees. Come join me over the wall. We're going to work on our wall squat for a moment, and then come back and warm up those calves. All right, we're back at the wall. So we're going to work on some wall squats. We've been playing around with these a little bit more so this time around. It's a really good exercise to help strengthen up the quads, strengthen up that quad tendon, and just that isometric squat hold with a little assistance of the wall. So first things first, let's measure ourselves out about a foot's distance away from the wall in my regular squat stance. I'm going to lean myself up against the wall so my hips and shoulders and my head can necessarily touch the wall. All right, I'm not going to drag my head down the wall, but I'm going to keep my shoulders and my hips in contact. My low back has a natural lumbar curve, so I'm not trying to hollow out or anything like that. I'm just trying to keep my hips in a neutral position and my back in a natural position as well. I squeeze my glutes, and I'm going to sit down, sliding down the wall, getting those knees to track the toes, and I'm going to take my squat to just above parallel to parallel. So I can really feel those quads kick on, and I can feel that engagement throughout that work set. Now my feet are in my natural squat stance. I'm gonna hold this position good and strong, squeeze in my glutes, holding in that nice pain-free position. And when I wanna come out of my hold, I slide up the wall, straightening out the legs, and then I can come away from the wall. So we wanna make sure that we're not going to a depth that causes us any discomfort. We wanna be working and holding that position strong, but we're also using this to build our strength in that mid-range squat. So we want to make sure that we're hitting our depth that's challenging, but something that we can maintain good position with. So the knees are still tracking the toe naturally. We're in that normal, natural kind of squat position. Let's head back over there. We're going to start warming up those calves and ankles. All right, our last exercise of our first work set is the calf raise. And we've been playing around with these a lot to work on strengthening those ankles and those feet. So our toes are going to point straight ahead. They're going to be just underneath my hips. I can either load this to the front or to the side with a dumbbell or whatever I'd like to hold for loading. But what I want you guys to make sure you're focusing on is that good glute squeeze in that core position so that we can really stabilize the hips and the pelvis as we start becoming dynamic and moving through that ankle. So we want to make sure that we're trying to stay balanced between the pinky and the big toe so we're not rolling to the outside, we're staying nice and square. And every once in a while you might feel yourself roll out. But we want to make sure that we're focusing on staying square and balanced, okay? We're not trying to hold or get any eccentric in that work set. We're really just trying to work on a nice steady state with that nice calf raise for 30 seconds. But if you have to pause to regain your balance, re-engage, that's totally fine. Quick recap, we have a dynamic triangle for 3 to 5 per side, sumo overhead good morning for 5, Sumo Squat Hold for 15 seconds into 5 dynamic squats, wall sit for 30 seconds to 45 seconds, and a calf raise for 30 seconds of just dynamic, loaded or unloaded, it's up to you. 2 to 3 rounds, take that down, then come join me for a little bit of squatting skill work and some strength work to get you primed up for what's to come. Our next phase of work is going to be single leg RDL, foot assist pistol, and a goblet squat. So we're going to really focus on those squat mechanics, kind of heating everything up with that unilateral work and then bringing it together with our full-on squat. So our single leg RDL can be loaded if you'd like. So you can load it to that kickstand leg, the same leg, or to the front. We want to make sure that the chest is open, we're engaged, and we're not hunching over with the shoulders. So I find for most people, getting that dumbbell held by both ends of the bell or setting on that leg that's doing the kickstand can be really helpful of staying square, but all those positions are very valuable in terms of building a different sensation in each movement. Neither is better nor worse, just play, experiment with them, and take which is going to challenge you the most for today. Now the RDL itself, we get ourselves set up with this foot kickstand ready to go, so we have that nice ability to stay square in the torso and the hips. I hold onto my dumbbell or my imaginary dumbbell so my shoulders are engaged. I'm going to pull my hip back into that good hinge, keeping my hands close to my body and just taking it either below the knee or to the knee and stand tall. I want to really focus on staying mid-foot balance, so not too far in the heel, not too far in the toe, but nice and centered through the foot. And I pull my hip back to get that hinge action just like my good morning. So I'm really focusing on pulling the hip back and finding that glute and hamstring engagement. What I'll also do too is set at the top of each rep, so I'll give myself a good glute squeeze, reset of the shoulders, and then move back into the next rep. So don't try and rush these. There's no tempo, but there's only 3 per side, so really take the time to make sure we're hitting those good positions. After the single leg RDL, we set up the same way for that pistol. So we get ourselves set up with that toe assist, hips are square, but instead of hinging, we're going to set the glutes and shoulders and keep that chest up tall as we take the hip to the heel, and then we're going to push through that foot, driving through that midfoot, toe down, heel down, making sure that we're working on that flat foot contact while still driving through the midfoot. So one more time. I pull everything together, I pull the hip down, staying balanced in that foot, and I push through that leg. Now if that's getting easier and I'm hitting good depth, I can load that with my foot assist. If that's getting easier with a slight load, I can actually take this foot away and tuck it on the back of my heel. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a little imbalance. So I have to really work on balancing myself out. But with the pressure of pressing into the back of my heel, it'll help keep my hips a little bit square and engaged still, but it's going to definitely challenge that single leg balance a little bit more. So that would be that final progression. So start with no load, working on range with the kickstand, then move to some load, then come back to this position if you'd like to challenge a little bit more to make that a little bit harder. Last but not least, we're going to pull everything together with our goblet squat. So we get our dumbbell up under the chin, my feet in my natural squat stance position, so just outside the hips / shoulders. I'm nice and tall, I squeeze my glutes, just like my sumo squat earlier. I'm going to pull the hips to my heels, keeping my body upright, knees tracking the toes, and then I stand pushing through those legs. I draw the hip down, and I draw back up. So I push through those feet, and I take everything down with good position. Now there's a tempo on that. You're going to do 5 reps at a 3-1-3 tempo. Take your time with that. We're just getting everything geared up and working on that good squat mechanic for the thrusters to come. So as a quick recap, we have 2 to 3 rounds, single leg RDL, 3 per side, loaded or unloaded, foot assist pistol, 3 per side, goblet squat for 5 at a 3-1-3 tempo, working through that for 2 to 3 rounds to work on strength and work on some skill development for the squat. Pause the video, rock it, come join me for a little primer to get you ready for the workout. All right, we're getting ready to go. Our body's getting there. We're going to do a little primer to get our heart rate up. So what we're going to do is we're going to practice the dumbbell front squat into a thruster. And if you're doing this with a single dumbbell, we'll do the front squat into thruster, then repeat on the opposite side. If we have 2 dumbbells, you'll just do 3 and 2 and go from there. So what we need to do is we're going to clean the dumbbell or dumbbells up to the shoulder. The back of the dumbbell is going to rest on the shoulder. I'm going to press into the dumbbell a little bit with that upper body and arm to keep my body stable. And I'm going to work on that same squat mechanic we just worked on in our goblet squat. Hips to heel, knees track to toes, body nice and tall. The only difference is that I'm going to be a little bit off balance with a single dumbbell pulling me to one side. So this hand right here can be really helpful in staying active and strong. So from here, we take that good squat down, and we stand tall. Now, once we've done 3 front squats, we're going to go back into that front squat, and we're going to drive out of the bottom into an overhead press. So I pull the hips to my heels, and I push through those legs to come overhead. I come back down, pull myself into that good squat, push into that good overhead, and come back down, and switch sides. So with that thruster, we want to focus on a few key points, that good overhead position and that good tight rib and tight glute position at the top that we practiced earlier in our warm-up in that sumo overhead good morning. So we want to make sure we're keeping those ribs in and that arm completely locked out in that straight position, always pressing to the ceiling. Now after those thrusters, we have our dumbbell lateral jump over or step over, which we can play around with to get our ankles ready to go. You can also substitute this piece for whatever you plan on doing in the workout in place of your double unders. So keep that in mind. You can start skipping, treadmill, whatever option you like to play with today. I'll have some cool options on your work set. But first things first, dumbbell lateral jump over. We get a 2-foot hop, or we can get a little skip, or we can do a high knee step, which I really like to open up the hips, or we can do a low step, which is totally fine as well. So we're going to do 20 seconds of just steady state movement just to get ourselves kind of jacked up, ready to go. And then we'll repeat that 2 times to get our heart rate ready and get that thruster movement ready, especially if you're going to change loads for the thruster. It's time to kind of feel out where you're going to go with that overhead position. Now as a quick recap, we have dumbbell front squat for 3, dumbbell thruster for 2, repeat on the opposite side. Then you're going to do a dumbbell lateral step over, jump over, or whatever you plan on doing for your cardio piece in the work set for 2 to 3 rounds to get things fired up and then tackle the workout. So the workout today is 10 down to 2 thrusters, 50 down to 10 double unders. So it's a pretty sweet little combo. It's gonna get the heart rate jacked up pretty good, and those thrusters are definitely going to challenge your coordination and your ability to skip well in terms of those legs getting a little loosey-goosey. So have some fun with this one, you guys. In terms of the thruster though, depending on how much volume you'd like, you could choose to, if you have a single dumbbell, you could choose to do 10 total count reps, so just half and half in between the sides, or you could do 10 per side, 8 per side, 6 per side. It depends on how much volume of squatting you want to tackle in this workout for you today. So choose the variation you'd like to take down, rock it, have fun with it. If you have 2 dumbbells, just do the set number of 10 down to 2, and then have some fun. For the double unders, we have 50 down to 10. I will have some different options for you, single unders, other types of jumps, some other types of cardio with some different numbers available for you to play with. So that'll be different depending on the type of activity you're planning on taking down there. So we'll have some fun with that. It's gonna be a choose your own adventure to enjoy and embrace. It's gonna be a fast one, it's gonna be a gasser, but it's a great way to kickstart off the week with our Monday. So I hope you guys enjoy this work set, you guys. Let me know how it went. Let me know what you chose to do for your cardio piece or your jumping piece. I'm excited to hear. But as always, work for quality, enjoy, have fun, and we'll see you tomorrow for some good programming and a lot more fun for the week. Bye, you guys.